Yes, greetings and the best of salutation. There would be prayer, power, peace, patience, and prosperity. I was sitting here looking at something, and when it comes to the foundation of modern human services, and how to best um, deal with people or even relate people or provide a service to people that will help them overcome challenges that they may face. I don't want to say mentally, I always say socially, because I am not really considered, I'm not a clinician, not by far, nor a doctor, nor a professor. But what I have found out, though, in this wise, is that when it comes to deviant behavior, because that's what's determined of deviant behavior, however, in the manner way in which was brought about, culture, background, family background, it could be individual experiences, and then you have institutions too, as well, for those who may be more challenged than others. And yes, and then you can look at institutions in different forms. Family institution, you can look at schools as institutions, and then institutions of imprisonment, and institutions of sane asylum, whatever. But my theory, the theory is that I say that there's 5 learning disabilities when it comes to yes, I call it SDLD, a social disorder learning disability. Overcoming feelings of inadequacy, alienation, indifferences, differences, and discrepancies, I say, and grievances. I just have a social health model that I used when it comes to the maturation process, and that it will result into becoming practitioners of social maturity, because I conclude that social stress leads to mental pain, and mental pain leads to physical harm. I said that planet Earth is concluded that it's a sociological structure, where there's inclusions and exclusions, and then it deals with classifications. I believe it was one, I don't know, it was 1700s or so, I believe it was. I think it was 1700s. It was a gentleman by the name of Horace Mann, I believe it was. Yes, I believe it was 1700 Horace Mann. Yep. Where is that? They call him considered to be the great equalizer. Considered to be an abolitionist as well. as it says that him and Thomas Jefferson worked together to give mandatory education for everyone. You know, they just use that, you know, for whatever it's worth. You know, whereas that prior to that, only the powerful had access to education, and then that began the funding of government-funded school systems that would be regulated and will provide U.S. citizens access to literature. You know, so but we see though how people are so are very bent out of shape, whereas that when it becomes to that which we do have access to and those which we do not have access to, meaning that there is access to an education in literature, but it could be discarded, I mean, you know, or taken for granted. But my social health model framework is really based on perception. Yeah, perception. Because that which you perceive to be may not necessarily be so. My model is, as I said earlier, about the maturation process. Social health model based on the maturation process of understanding, tolerance, temperance, confidence, and respect. But when you deal with the social health model, the task is an understanding. And what are you understanding? Perceived susceptibility. Meaning that you perceive that you are susceptible, and that susceptibility makes you complete, or it could make you incomplete, but the word perceived itself means to complete, of being susceptible to certain things. And then it has the perception has its advantages and disadvantages. And when you deal with those things, you have to be clear about misinterpreting something. You know, thinking you saw something and that which you did not see. And it could, but if you say that you saw it, then hey, you saw it because the other individual may not see what you saw. And then that's how you learn to appreciate what is called art. And art is designed to awaken one's imagination through the freedom of oneness. So it has its advantages and it has its disadvantages, you know. But I think we always deal with the intention behind which a thing is used, you know, our faculties or whatever. But then we have to deal with the effort. The effort is in the tolerance, how much you can take when it comes to perceived susceptibility. And, you know, that's associated with, you know, being vulnerable too. You know, it's a beautiful thing because a lot of times some can deal with imaginary hurt. But, you know, it's a beautiful thing that when you can be around each other and be vulnerable and be comfortable and being vulnerable around each other. Yes. And because, you know, those are the advantages of understanding, coming to understanding what you are looking at when we are interacting with each other and confronting each other face to face. Because when you have understanding of whom you're interacting with in any relationship and with another, it leads to your how much you will tolerate, how much you will not tolerate. That deals with capacity training, or some would use that word there. But yeah, and then in that same task is an understanding, perceived susceptibility, advantages and disadvantage. The effort is in tolerance. Then you deal with the perceived severity. Remember that what you think is has done or perceived to be severe injury or damage, it may not necessarily be the case. It may not necessarily be the case, only because I think in this social health model, then we deal with problem solving skills. Become more optimistic rather than a pessimistic. And it's like you see something that may you perceive that it will injure you or hurt you, and you will not pursue it. And it's almost like in any relationship that we get into, it's the experiences that we bring from past relationships into new relationships, and we perceive that it will cause more harm than good if we continue to open ourselves up and make ourselves vulnerable. But the social health model gives in this matter, or the social health model, there was this model. The first two of the tasks and understanding, the perceived susceptibility, the advantages and disadvantage, the perceived severity. We're dealing with the resulting. The result is to restore social credibility, and it also, the result is readdressing social diversity of one's aspirations. We are and we are aspirants. I'm not saying that in its totality, but under this social health model, we learn to be an inspiration to ourselves as well as to others. Because when inspiration comes down, one aspiration goes up, that which we aspire to. Yes. And then there is certain perceived severity. It's like and I'm not in the sports play, but if someone's getting injured, then you have the scientists or the doctors that come into play, and they realize that they can help you through whatever it is that you're going through. And that's how it is. As I say, I'm no clinician or no doctor. That's how it is when people who have these mental health challenges, that they perceive that it's so, the one who has the challenge perceive that it's so severe that which they have, or not so much what they have, but whatever it is that they're dealing with, they may think that it's beyond repair, and then they may not get the help that those who are dealing with an illness, whatever it may be, and they may not get the help that they need. Maybe because of stigma that is tied to it. I don't know. Yes. So on the other side, I think that those who are giving it help, develop this empathy for the individual, and that they don't place stigmas or judgment on the individual whom they are providing a human service to. Yes. So, and that now we're dealing with the time. The time is in temperament, self-control, and attitude. Yes, and really, in the middle of it is the glue to this here is health motivation. Health motivation, motivated by health. To be healthy, and doing so, that will result in revising, being more coherent, more cognizant, more clearer, if I may use that word, clarity, of being health motivated. Now, people who are health motivated are those who try to, maybe eat a certain diet or certain food. They health motivated. And they may not want to be around certain people. They don't even want to entertain certain thoughts because they health motivated. Yes, health motivated. And then we get into the energy is in the confidence. And we always talk about the synergy of energy. And that deals with perceived benefits. Now we look at perceive that which we perceive as benefits when it comes to understanding the task and the effort of tolerance and the time and the temperance. Controlling what we're controlling, really prior to that, is our attitude. And before our attitude, we're dealing with our thoughts. And before that, we're dealing with our feelings and our emotions. Yes. Because feelings are real, you know what I'm saying? Feelings are real. You touch something, you feel it, So then we deal with what is called, dealing with that, we don't want to deal with emotional reasoning, dealing with things in unrealistic terms. Because of that, and I'll say this, when we're talking about our common humanity, is that the commonality that we have is living in this reality. And that's real. And that's royalty, and royalty is how we treat one another. That's real. And because the manner way in which we treat one another, that injury or that hurt is going to carry over if it's not even dealt with in a way that is health motivated. The severity of it. Because people are only responding to the extent and the damage of the injury has been done to their humanity. So the energy is in the confidence, and then you got to deal with being open-minded. Open-minded. It also deals with this when I deal with the perception. This social health model is perception based. Open-mindedness, then it's closed-mindedness, then it's narrow-mindedness, and then there is perceived barriers, barriers that we think aren't there, that we may put there in front of us, like stigmas or social comparisons or titles and labels and all these things that we put, that can be put in a way, and they are perceived barriers and used as barriers. But remember, if one becomes very delusional, we continue to put barriers in a way, even when it comes to coexisting and learning how to live with one another. Yes. Then we could deal with what we call generational barriers, whatever they may be, old and young. And we become so very extreme as if there is no middle ground. Yeah. So dealing with that, we also dealing with the social model, dealing with the nature. The nature is in respect. Talk about the nature is in the respect of the perception, yes, of what we see, and that which we thought we saw, realize it's not there no more. We have to deal with this reality, as well as we have to deal with that which we think, that which we have not seen, but knowing that that which we have not seen, but that which we have not seen, sooner or later will manifest itself and come to existence. You look at a tree 10 years from now, and that same tree that you saw physically is not there no more. It's been used for something else. So, but then we also have to deal with that which is that which remains for a certain period of time, until it is until it has its expiration date. And we do lose sometimes. When you get older, you need glasses. They help you see things a little clearer. Yes. So we see that the energy is in the confidence, and the nature is in the respect. And it's like it resulting into replenish one's continuity when it comes to flows and blockages and limitations and accomplishments. Because I've realized that mental labor precedes physical labor. There are limits to it, to everything. There are limits. There's flows, and then there is what they call blockages. That's why we have positive and negative. So what we see is that the social health model is based on perception. We see what we're seeing is that we're dealing with not only with clarity, but we also is dealing with balance. And we see that the people of old and even people of now, they knew the importance of what? Of balance. Yeah, they knew the importance of balance. And then we have to realize that also to the final uh, end result in this social health model that's based on perception is to reclaim what I call social solidarity. Yes, become a solid human being, and when you are a solid human being, you are a decent human being. When you're a decent human being, you're kind, you're respectful, you're honorable, you're caring. Any attribute that understands the importance of cultivating the nobility and the dignity in the people. Yes. When it comes to their humanity, what I always say that I try to cultivate the potential or light of knowledge that is in us all. The potential to do, the power to be. To be one, to be one. And but it's kind of interesting when we deal with individual behavior and culture background, family background, individual behavior, emotional distress, all these things that we are challenged. Perception and social comparison, classification, it's the advantages and the disadvantages, the perceived severity of it, perceived benefits, because some things that we think is a benefit wind up not being a benefit because we're just learning along the way. We're just learning as we go. What creation itself is a benefit for us, so it is a learning environment. So as we learn at times and how the balance to be open-minded, I don't know if it's good for us to be closed-minded, but at times we may want to maybe shut down and shut things out. But the narrow-minded, and I look at narrow-minded, it's not that a person is not listening, but narrow is just to be, to me, it's just to be focused. It's like a linear approach. Yes. And then we dealing with what we call perceived barriers. Yes. It's almost like the past or what has been done to us or done to anyone in the past is almost like it's perceived barriers as if we're still dealing with that past and we are creating barriers. And it's almost like we are imprisoning ourselves if we cannot break those barriers and get over them. The hurt, the pain, or something that has been done. And I'm not saying that it's like something that happens overnight. Well, it is a process. So what really is based on how you perceive yourself and how you perceive a thing. Yes. Perception is interesting, you know. Someone would say it's not reality, but it's on its way to reality. So we're trying to learn to deal with this reality, you know. And not to mention there are mind-altering drugs that people use, and, you know. So the social health model, I did not put an image or a picture of it so you can see it. It's my personal social health model because I concluded that social stress leads to mental pain and mental pain leads to physical harm. That's my social health model on the top. Yeah, that's my social health model on the top. So as it says that Sigmund Freud developed a psychoanalytic theory, which not only proposed a model for understanding abnormal and normal behavior, but also introduced a systematic method for treating patients. And he had an approach. So I approach things all progressively. When it comes to SDLD, social disorder, learning disability, when it comes to deviant behavior, progressively, universally, holistically, comprehensively. Yes, approach it progressively, universally, holistically, comprehensively, and conscientiously. Yes, I try to approach things in a manner, in a way that deals with certain setbacks that people may be dealing with. I said progressively, universally, holistically, comprehensively, and conscientiously. And the keys to the success is the need meeting period, and that gives people the incentive that they need, that they can further becoming motivated and value becoming reacquainted with self. Then there's the issue resolving period. That's the initiatives of one's determination that we expand our image, our worldview properly by becoming more reacquainted with ourselves. And the third key is the problem solving period that addresses one's influences. As I stated earlier, we're born with nobility and dignity. A lot of things we just learn along the way, and we're still learning. And it deals with the environment, and the intent that that we don't allow the vices, vices or devices that we have that prevents us from properly learning how to reason with progression. I realized there's two struggles: common sense versus nonsense, and progressive versus regressive. So we reason from the premise of conversation by further becoming reacquainted with ourselves. Then there's the question and answer period, and that is designed to readdress the indicators. What are the indicators of one's directives of intent? By virtue, one will probably become learn the value of further becoming reacquainted with themselves. So that's why I say I promote, or when talking about common humanity mission, the value of self-worth. Yes. So it's pretty interesting. And that which is interesting to me, that this is a model that I have concluded, and by me establishing the maturation process of understanding, tolerance, temperament, confidence, and respect. The first one is to to restore social credibility. The next is to readdress social diversity. And the other one is to revive social coherency. And the other is to replenish social continuity. And the other is to reclaim social solidarity. And I know that these guys who have these titles, doctors, Floyd and Pablo, Marvel, all these guys, they brilliant people, very brilliant. But needless to say, and they have the maybe the finance and even their their studious work to back them up. And I am, I don't say that I am in competition with anyone, but it matter people whom you talk with. It's like they come up with theories. You know what I'm saying? That's all right. So it's like someone could be close to you and they come up with something, and then you have no one that can think outside the box that can help further reinforce and substantiate. You know what I'm saying? Further substantiate what you say. So, hey man, the path is a lonely one. The path to knowledge is a lonely path. Trust me, it is. So, other than that, I want to say much continued success and nothing but the best for everyone. Thank you so much.